If you're at home, we're starting on chapter 7. We just looked at the picture and read the caption. But not only that, we've learned that there's going to be a feast, okay? Let me double check our field journal. All right, not yet. All right, let's look at the Lost Village. So we're in the the wooden circle at Woodhenge. We're going to learn about what they start discovering in this unimportant area, okay? Yeah, Woodhenge, sure. The year of decision was 2005. The year before, Mike thought his crew had made a key find when they uncovered an ancient ditch near the southern circle. He was certain this was the side of the avenue leading down to the River Avon. See map on 10 and 11. Go back to 10 and 11, please. Whoops. Yes, y'all figure it out while my internet and computer freak out. Yeah. All right. So he thinks I want all of you to use your epic example too in a minute because we're going to use it in chapter 8. Okay. So they thought they had part of this avenue up top that connected Stonehenge to the River Avon, but that's not necessarily what they found, okay? So in 2004, he thought he found some important information regarding to the avenue, but he didn't. Flip back to the pages. You were just on 37, I believe, yeah. But when they took a closer look, the ditch dated from 2,000 years after the circle. So it was a modern-day ditch, not the same thing. Mike was desperately disappointed. The team found some moderately interesting evidence here and there, but nothing big. Another dry season of digging and the game was over. What does it mean by another dry season of digging? Tell me what that means, Blaine. Getting close, yes. RJ?
Another day of them not finding anything.
Yes, that is a test question. Turn back to your notes. I know for a fact it's on your next quiz. Yeah, but it's also pre-made, so I have the ability to adjust, and that's on it. 36, 37. Chapter 7, Lost Village. You're on the right-hand side. Dry season for digging, meaning they didn't find much.
I always hear my nana saying it's always dry. And so I was going to say that it probably means that whole season was dry without nothing discovered that was.
That's it. Don't be fooled. It does not mean that it's not raining. Now, does that mean that in a different sentence? Yeah, it can. Dry season for digging, they didn't find much. Make sure you're typing it.
I'm writing it.
That's fine. And in the picture, they're going to find houses at SC, which SC stands for the Southern Circle. And I put what Luke asked. What about this feast we're talking about? Highlighted a different color. You're good.
I just write with this.
Okay.
Okay.
Find houses at Southern Circle. There's a feast. What are we talking about, feast?
Milk?
Yeah. We don't know what it is, though, or who had it, or what they had it for yet, but we're about to kind of get into it.
Something else, because whenever I watch YouTube sometimes, I'll scroll down and it's like different videos. And I watched one and it said, in the last 24 hours if you're on execution, you can have your last meal. And it seems like it's the last phase before like something big happens.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's the last phase before they have war.
Maybe. Good ideas.
It could just be they ate and then not too long after they died.
Could be. All right, let's get back and read.
No.
While busloads of visitors were walking around Stone Circle at Stonehenge, the Riverside team spent their days in a meadow accompanied by cows. Indeed, cows were a big problem because the farmers who owned the pastures needed a place for the herds to graze. When I came to visit, we had to step around cow patties and circle past the rather puzzled and put out bulls. Poop. But Mike was sure this site held one of the secrets of Stonehenge. Watching the Riverside team at work, I realized that their training allows them to read soil the way the rest of us read books. Turn the page. All right. Before we read, let's take a long look at this picture. So, Luke, the picture that was on the previous page of the aerial view, the up top view, is what we're looking at now. What it used to look like. So let's look at the base. We've got the post holes. Now, in previous years, students have said, why is this part of the house gone? It's not really gone. It's just taken away for you to see the post holes on the bottom.
Right there, you can see it kind of starts.
Yes.
Off. So that's how the house.
This is how the house would have looked. And they found this out through analyzing the soil layers that were on top of the previous page. Hold on.
I wonder if it burned down.
That were on top of these. No, they were just covered in dirt. All right, let's take a look. We've got the garbage hole to the right. Put your hands down. I'm going to make you some observations first, and I'll let y'all talk. Garbage holes to the right. Now look on the left-hand side where the dog is. These are previously covered garbage holes. So if you had a garbage hole previously and it got to the top, instead of taking the trash out, you just cover it up with dirt. Okay?
I wish I would do that.
It's pretty gross, so no. Now, they've got post holes around the bottom. This is where posts were put so that it could hold up the sides. Now, in the center is the hearth that we just looked at. That is usually where you put the fire. Hold on. Now, these two on the left and right inside are actually the beds. They usually had straw there. Everyone's like, what? There's no pillows. No, that's like a very modern thing. All right, let's make some observations. Luke. These things up here from the top are food or things that they don't want animals to get into. Okay? So instead of burying things, someone in the last class said they buried stuff like that. No, we've got hanging bins so that animals can't get to it. Colin? Okay. Yeah.
And just kind of one part being like a kind of rocky floor,
Okay.
grass.
Okay. Yeah. It's got a rock floor. You're right. It's very different than what we're used to. Look on the side real quick. I forgot to address this. This is not just plaster on the outside. They would put these reeds together, woven in and out of these post holes, and then they would plaster over it. So that would actually cover the entire house. It wouldn't just be right there. You can continue, Colin. Yeah, and then it's still used in some areas today. Luke, what you think?
In the outside, there's the city people. It looks like the dude's looking around, and I think he came back from going out to hunt for food.
Hunting. He looks like he's bringing back some more wood for the fire. She looks like she's holding something to eat.
And I'm wondering if they're cooking for the final.
For the feast? Love it. That's a great idea. RJ, I think you might be right.
I have two things. One thing is the floor is on wood or whatever. How did they get a hole in it?
Down here?
Yeah.
They would probably use antler picks, honestly. Yeah.
Did they do the same thing to make the fireplace?
Probably. I would say
the
so.
Second thing is, some of the other people
Yeah?
have like tiny dog houses. You see that?
This looks like it's a smaller house. I don't think it's for a dog because they did not domesticate dogs, meaning they didn't keep them as pets, but that's a good point.
It looks like there's a dog right here.
There is a dog, but they're not domesticated pets. They're like animals roaming around. Yes, Connor.
If they had meat on that, that might be like nothing. they probably put the bones in the trash. That's where the people probably dig to find the bones.
Okay.
And they probably, when they filled up another hole, they probably got the dirt out of that hole. And
Yeah.
filled that other one up in
To put on top of the other garbage holes. You're right. Blaine, I would agree with you.
I can tell it probably takes years and years to build these houses because all they had was to build that.
I like that. It didn't take years, but it did take longer than normal, yeah. All right. Last two, then we'll move forward. Colin and then Luke. Go for it.
I see a few houses in the background.
Good.
They might do the same thing because
Okay.
there's a house right there that has a dark area.
Yep.
That's a trash pit.
Love it. It is.
So they might do the same thing.
Okay. So it doesn't just look like one home. It looks like there's more. Maybe the small village. Yes, Luke.
And
Good point.
the woman in the house,
Mm-hmm.
it looked. I think she's like holding something because she
Yeah.
has her arms out like this.
Looks
she's
like it. Could be.
carrying something.
Yeah.
And then the houses in the back, they look kind of different from the other.
Okay.
They look different from
They do. Some of them look the same. Some of them look different.
They have antlers.
But the point is that there's more than one. Let's look at the caption. An artist's reconstruction of the house shown on page 36 as it would have looked 4,500 years ago. You can see the same plaster floor, hearth, post holes, and frame. All right, let's read. As Mike explained, they study how earth, rocks, and wood age and decay. So as they scrape away and dig, they're turning pages until in an area where you or I would see a road or a hill or a meadow, they can picture an ancient landscape. If Mike was right and the giant stands of wood that had formed the southern circle signaled the realm of the living, people must have left traces. Stonehenge itself has almost no remains, showing that it was used by people. Just a few handfuls of broken pots and animal bones. Sparse remnants of food that might have eaten at a ceremony. The team was looking for evidence that people had once lived here, near the timber circle. In 2004, they had to cut one trench, which is like a little square, one of those squares they use to excavate, and found nothing. They tried another, no luck. Now it was August of 2005, and Mike was alone on the site with the driver whose backhoe stripped off the top layer of soil in a new location. Pay dirt. Black soil filled with animal bones, scraps of pottery, and flint. At that moment, Mike knew they had found something fantastic. It was brilliantly exciting. Mike and the driver were looking at a clear evidence that people had lived, worked, and eaten right here. And the black soil was only the start. Look at this phrase, pay dirt. What do they mean by pay dirt? This is confusing because the author is using a dirt reference figuratively because they're digging. What does it mean?
It means like you hit what you want to hit, and it's like the best thing you can find.
Like a jackpot. Yes, perfect. Let's go to our notes. I love it. So, 38, 39. We're right here. They found 9 houses with animal bones, pottery, and flint. Oh, don't do they feasted yet. Just this. Flint is a rock that's used to make fire. Yes. Exactly.
This is a lot of it.
No, not yet. Pay dirt equals jackpot in parentheses. That is also on your quiz. Your quiz will be next week for this. Doesn't actually mean they found dirt. It means they found very important artifacts and features that they needed to find to prove there was life at Southern Circle. Yes.
I used to go to pottery class, and they taught us about how the old pottery
Cool.
was like formed and stuff.
Very cool. Found 9 houses with animal bones, pottery, and flint. Pay dirt equals jackpot. Yeah, anytime you're finished early, and you haven't done something before, do that on that page. That's fine. Not yet. Hold on. As soon as we finish this chapter, okay? All right, let me finish reading that page real quick. I'll come right back to it. Beneath the grass were remains of 9 small houses surrounded by those full layers of animal bones and pottery. At first, this might not seem so exciting. All that remained of the house was the floor, the roofs, and the walls. And I'm going to read this real quick. This is cool. So in this picture, we've got bones. These aren't human bones. These are animal bones.
Yay.
All right, let's look. Examining bones like these found near the houses, the Riverside team learned that the ancient people cooked so many animals they could afford to be wasteful. That's a very important comment. I need to put it up. They did not scrape bones to get every bit of meat and fat as a hungry person might. The mounds of bones that showed sign of having been thrown away when only partially eaten confirm that the area around the southern circle was used for a huge feast. Let's go back to our notes. They feasted and had a lot of stuff. What does it mean if the archaeologists found a lot of wasted food? What does it tell us, Mick? They weren't hungry like the caption said. They had a lot of stuff. They were not a civilization that was hungry or poor. Yes, Luke.
It looked that on the picture. Is that like newspaper that's under the
Yes. We talked about this in the last class. I'm not going to skip back over yet until y'all are done. But those are, if you've ever been to like a nursery or your parents have bought plants to plant. Yes, ma'am. Yes. All right, she's on her way. But they would have, you know, those boxes that they're in, those are usually kept to keep seedlings in. So there's holes in the bottom. So they put something inexpensive. They had a lot of like newspaper down so they wouldn't lose any pieces.
Well, I feel like they have like something more advanced than newspapers.
True, but whenever you don't have a lot of money on a dig like these people don't, you use what you have. Yes, Wilson.
Those bones from the final phase.
They are. I would agree with you. Now we get into the interesting part. So we found houses, 9 of them specifically, just for now. And we found evidence of life, pottery, bones, and flint. The bones being bones of animals they've eaten that had excess on it. So it wasn't necessarily used for daily life that we know of yet. It was used for a big feast. All right, let's read about this feast. Turn the page. All right, we have the same picture. We already looked at this whenever we looked at our gallery walk. This is a woman looking at the post holes in the bottom of the house, and right here is where the bed would have been.
Wait, that don't look like a bed.
It doesn't, but look at this picture. These were put into basically the base of the house. So you would find an imprint of where the bed was.
Like, so those little like things on the side of the bed?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right.
Did they have the fire going through the match?
Yeah, but look, you could even see the fire circle in hers too, the hearth right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah? Neither did we. We talked about that in the last class yesterday, how we didn't notice or make connections whenever we looked at it at the gallery wall. But now it makes sense. All right. How long ago collapsed and vanished, talking about the civilization. Yet the shape of the building is so clear it's almost like looking at a building plan. The team concluded that these 9 houses were just a small part of a much larger settlement surrounding the southern circle, perhaps as many of 1,000 houses originally. That's a ton.
Because they wasn't poor.
Oh, that's true. And if so, this was the largest Neolithic village in Northern Europe. So this was probably the biggest village at that time period. Finding these houses was like opening a door and suddenly discovering an entirely new world parallel to our own. The houses, a sign of vast settlement, were the first real evidence ever found of where and how people lived when they used Stonehenge. Following Ramsell and Nina's insight about wood and stone, the Riverside team stripped away the ground cover and saw clear evidence of the land of the living. The missing half of Stonehenge. Go back to your notes. Wait, no. I apologize. If you're at home, I'm sorry. We're going to read the next page. Skipping the strontium analysis box. Mike had said finding these houses was the most satisfying part of the whole Stonehenge dig. This isn't even at Stonehenge, is it?
No.
It's at the southern circle on the total opposite end of the area.
But
So
ain't-
Mike said this is the best thing, though.
But ain't it still on the Stonehenge?
It connects to it, yeah.
I just thought of something.
Uh-huh.
So they say they think there's around 1,000 houses.
Yes.
What if the big houses that are there was for the rulers? And
Could be.
Stonehenge on the other side, they buried them there.
Could be.
And all the big stones represented all the leaders.
Could be. Time out with that theory. I like that theory, but listen to what I'm about to read about how often it was used, and then we can shift it a little bit, okay? The animal bones told a story almost as exciting as the houses. When archaeologists examined, eyes on your books, please, the teeth of the animals, they learned two crucial things. The pigs were typically about 9 months old when they died, and since pigs give birth in the spring, they must have been cooked and eaten in the middle of the winter. The cow's teeth were more difficult to age, but the strontium in them is certainly not from the chalk soils of the Durrington walls and Stonehenge. The animals came from at least 30 miles away, and some were brought from over 70 miles away. Led, walked. This was not a village where farmers raised animals to eat as needed. Rather, it was a special place where once a year, in the dead of winter and perhaps also in the midsummer, people from a wide area gathered to feast. It was just as Ramsell and Nina had expected, a place of the living where people held celebrations. But what did they celebrate? Go to your notes.
Yay.
So this was not used for everyday use. This was used once, maybe twice a year to celebrate something. 40 through 41. 1,000 homes estimated.
So if I'm understanding that correct, that just put my theory out.
Kind of, but your theory could still match.
What?
He was saying that there was like a hierarchy and the bigger houses were for the rulers. It could still be true. Hold on. Largest Neolithic settlement. Huge. Found pig and cow evidence, but they did not raise them there, which in parentheses shows that this is like an ancient campsite for winter celebration. I'll leave you to write for a little while. If you're at home, I'm going to pause and copy what is highlighted in the blue.
They wasn't really like
Could be.
the neighbors.
I like that.
They had a feast to celebrate something.
Maybe. If you're at home, we just talked about how we read the box on the last page, 41, about strontium dating. And then we made our note here. You can copy it. And then we just talked about what could be the reason for celebration. It's in the middle of winter. It could be something like Christmas. They could have been using it kind of like a funeral service. We don't know yet. And that's what the author of the book leaves us with, is what could they be celebrating?
Or how could I celebrate?
Yeah. If you're at home, finish your notes, and then we'll reconvene on chapter 8.